Oh my gosh, why did the universe not want us to do this? Like,
Listen, I get it. Like, I'm like the last person when things happen because I had to like cancel on you, and it's been, is your eye okay?
yes, my eye is great. I don't know how that happened. It's kind of scary.
Overall, like, I don't even know how I found you. And I think that's what I love about social media. I don't know if I found you on Instagram or I found you on Threads, but I saw what you were doing and it immediately sparked my interest. And like moving forward, you're the type of creative filmmaker, actress, like you're the type of person that like I really gravitate towards because I'm like, oh, you're finding your community how you find it. I really do admire what you decided to do. I think it puts a lot more power in the long run, puts a lot more power in your creative vision, what you're putting out, just kind of everything. My first question, because the first thing that came to mind was, why did you not go the official route? Like keep trying and keep trying that way.
I everybody's dream is to like have their show. Nobody wants to do anything independently, right? That's not like the ideal scenario for a lot of creatives. Everybody's dream is to have their show on a network or like a streaming
Yeah.
service. And so when I was like trying to try that route, first of all, I don't have reps, right? So like that's one hurdle. It's very
Yeah.
hard to get represented out here, to get a manager who like believes in you and your story and what you're building and can get you in those rooms. And so any meetings or like potential meetings or, pitches that I've had has been has been strictly through like people mentioning me in rooms and like people referring me to people. Yeah, 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 yeah. So I've had some like good people on my side who, saw the comic shop and were just like, yo, I don't know if it can happen, but like let's try and see. I have a deal over here. Let's try and see if they'll take it over here. I have a deal over here. Let's try and see if they'll take it over here. And going those different routes, it just didn't seem to be in the cards. And so I think after a while, I was kind of tired of people telling me what my own idea was, like what my own idea was, what to do with that idea, what they feel it's missing, who I should be adding to it, and I don't know. I always say I'm in my delusional era, and in my head, I have a great project. I have a great idea, and I think it deserves to be seen. There was a moment where I was like, maybe I should just scrap it and write the next thing. But yeah, I was gonna scrap it, and
I'm glad you didn't.
I was
I'm
this
really
close.
glad you didn't.
But I don't know. Every time I posted the trailer, it went crazy on social media, and I was like, that has to mean something. Like it has
Yeah.
to mean something. And so yeah, so that's why I ended up going the independent route because, at least that way I'm able, even though it's to me it's harder, doing things independently and, we're dealing with that now, during pre-production for the show, but it's worth it because you get to keep your vision
Mm.
intact, and I feel like that means a lot for a project. So
I realized when we started talking about the comic shop, I was like, I know about it, and I realized I didn't ask you for the people that may not know about it. So please.
yeah, so the comic shop is a workplace comedy about a crew of friends running a struggling comic book store in LA. And, it pretty much kind of shows the hardships of running a small business and also chasing your passions and like how much, I mean, is it worth it to keep, trying to keep these doors open and do what you love, or, is it time to call it quits? And they're just dealing with all sorts of stuff. And it's really nerdy, really heartfelt, really funny. It's a story about friendship. It's a love letter to the Black nerd community, but also the nerd community as a whole, as somebody who grew up being the nerdiest of nerds. And Yeah, so it's a workplace comedy in the same vein as Abbott Elementary, The Office. We get those little fun zoom in moments and camera action, and yeah, I feel like it's pretty unique. We released our proof of concept in 2023 and it went kind of crazy. And so now we're finally doing the good work and making it official.
Because if I'm not mistaken, you shot this in 2023,
Yep, yep. We did a
and
proof of concept in 2023.
then you sort of sat on it for a while before you were like, F it, we doing it. Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, so like, what was your moment where it was like, It's either this or it's nothing. Because I think that is such a hard place to get to, to be like, especially to be a creative and put your stuff out there to be like, it's either this or nothing.
Yeah, so we did a short proof of concept in 2023. I came up with the idea like at end of 2021, finished, kind of had it more fleshed out in 2022. Then we shot in February 2023. And I don't know. I'm very much the type of person that's like, well, put it on into the universe. Let's see what happens. I didn't like do any official promotion for it. I just wanted to like put the trailer at least online and then send the short itself to film festivals. And we were getting like really good reception. Online is one thing, but like in a theater with tons of people, different types of people, you know, it's like one thing for people to comment saying I need this now, but for like a theater of people of all backgrounds, cheering and laughing and coming up to you after the screening and being like, this is a great idea, like this is, we want to see more of this, like how can we see more? I think that kind of does something to your confidence. Like it
Mhm.
kind of, I like to say it's like several light bulbs going off in my head. Like maybe I had like three. And that moment I was like, oh, okay, boop, 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 light bulb goes off. Maybe this is a good idea. I don't know. Maybe if things don't go my way, we just go independently. Maybe. I don't know. What made me like go the independent route officially was the show was being like tossed around by like too many people, and it just felt like so many people were in my ear either telling me what my show needs to be or like or going back and forth on whether they feel like my show is worthy. And I just
And these are like people in the industry that,
yeah. And like I said, there were great people who are my who I know who are trying to get the show seen, but it's like the people that needed to see it were just like not sure, and it was just too much back and forth in the hands of people who just don't quite get it, and it just got so frustrating, to the point where I was like, Kendrick says sometimes you got to pop out and show folks, you know what I mean, like, and so that's why I was like, you know what, I know some great people who have had to go the independent route. Matthew Cherry, for example,
yeah.
he was a big supporter of my Kickstarter journey as well. And um, Kev on stage, he's a guy that I recently came into connection with, and he's given me some great
I'm
advice.
a huge fan.
Yeah, love him. He's so funny. And some of my favorite people, like I said, have had to go this route. So like, who am I to not think that this is a route that I could be successful in? And so
Yeah.
so yeah, it was really just that too my project in the hands of too many people who just refused to get it. It came to a point where I was like, okay, I know I'm not crazy. This is a good idea.
Yeah.
I know it is. I know it is. And I have plenty of ideas, but this is the one that I brought to the table that I was like, I'm ready for the world to see it.
The way I found you and the way I saw you was you were constantly putting yourself out there. And
Mm-hmm.
what I tell a lot of people that are, go the indie route is it's a lot more sweat equity. It's just going to take you a longer time, or it's going to take you more hours, or it's going to take more, consistency. Why did you decide to be that consistent? Because I feel like no one's talking about it enough. Like no one's talking about, I'm gonna post every day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna take you on the journey, which is what you're doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm creating a world where there's a community and there's a show. And so the day it launches, your community is gonna be ready for it. Um,
Yeah.
is that something you see someone else do, or you were just like,
So yeah, there were some other, oh god, and I don't remember their names, but Kickstarter, first of all, Kickstarter, the platform in general, like no sponsor, no nothing. Like literally they were really like rooting behind the scenes for this project to succeed. Cause everybody wants to be a part of the success story. I get it.
yeah,
But they sent me like some links of some past Kickstarter creators and like what they've done to like help reach their goal in such a short amount of time.
really?
Yeah, and I wish I remember the names of those creatives, but I remember just like feeling really inspired because I think there was a point during the campaign where we were stuck at 20K for the longest time, and I just was feeling like we're not gonna make this. But a representative from Kickstarter reached out and was like, we know you can do this. Here are creators that have reached the finish line, who are like who were looking for the same amount as you were and managed to do it, in a
Wow.
crazy amount of time. And I was like, and I was looking and like kind of studying their videos, and I was like, I'm a content creator, right? I've created, I know that world. And so, but it was always my hope to like not need to ever create content consistently again, because it's a lot of work. It's a
It
lot
is.
of work.
It is.
And but when they sent me that email, it gave me the inspiration that I needed, and I was like, okay, I'm going to plan out the types of videos I'm going to make. I'm going to script each one of them and make sure I'm hitting all the points, so that when somebody watches this video, they get who I am, they get what I'm trying to create, they get why I'm trying to create it, and they know where they can donate if they want to support. And so I just made sure I followed that outline for every single video. And I think I posted a video at least once or twice every day for 29 days straight. um,
That is
yeah,
determination.
that is determination. I was right here. My office is crazy because now we're doing like pre-production stuff, and so all the stuff is back here. But I was in this office every day, try to put a face on when I could, and made sure, I was in front of the camera. I even down to like what I wore in the videos. I knew like certain outfits, certain shirts would probably catch somebody's attention. And so
Mhm.
the first video that did that, I wore this shirt with this black anime character on it, and I was like, oh, people are gonna immediately see the shirt, and then they're gonna care about what I'm saying. Like it was planned. It was definitely
Very
planned.
intentional.
Yeah, very intentional. Everything was intentional. And yeah, so for 30 days, I pretty much posted everywhere I could: Blue Sky, TikTok, Threads. That's when I started being active on Threads. Um, Spill. Oh my gosh, Spill. I went on there. I was on Twitter. Um, I was everywhere. Anywhere that you could post short form content, I was there. And I think that's like one thing that I feel like people get wrong about Kickstarter. They think there's no planning involved. I just need to post a link and people will
Yeah.
support it. That's not true. That's not true at all. Like there's got to be planning. Like even before I launched the campaign, I was campaigning to get people to follow the campaign. So like I was doing
Mhm.
that for like a month or so. And
Actually, I remember. I think you once sent me an email, but I remember you posted like we're kicking off our Kickstarter.
mhm.
And I thought that was also interesting because I was like, well, where's the Kickstarter?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah. You
yeah.
have to kick it off, and and you hope that everybody that if you get like 400 followers on the campaign before it launches, you hope that those 400 people will show up for you on day one. Sometimes it doesn't happen.
Wow.
Yeah, I learned a lot,
That's
a
smart.
lot.
No, that's good. Do you mind giving some tips for anybody that is thinking of doing a Kickstarter? Because I feel like nobody's ever really broken down like ways they were successful and like tips that they would absolutely do. Do you
Yeah,
mind sharing?
yeah. Well, first of all, you got to get people to follow your Kickstarter, your project on Kickstarter. If you get people who believe in the project and they're willing to like follow it before it even launches, that's a great chance that you'll get a certain amount, a good amount of donations on the first day of launch. So, and that really really matters, especially like with the algorithm on Kickstarter. So that's one thing. I would say have a really really good visual to show, whether it's like a poster or like a trailer. I know what got a lot of eyes on our project was both of those things, but like mostly the trailer that we did. I edited the trailer myself. And I noticed like a lot of people were like, well, where can we stream this? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, where, you know, and I'm just like, oh, it's not official, but I'm glad that you think this is something that is on Hulu right now. Like, great, that's what we want. People were intrigued by the visuals. And then the biggest thing that helped me was creating content promoting my Kickstarter. I don't know. Sometimes I'll see people and they're not even like willing to post one video a day to like put their Kickstarter out there to like, get eyes on their Kickstarter. And that blows my mind because even with like, I don't have the biggest follower count, but like, and so that's also why I had to go as hard. But like, even people with, a million followers struggle getting their projects funded because and they think because they have a million followers on Instagram or on TikTok, all they have to do is post a link and they're getting donations. That's not
Hmm.
how it works at all. sometimes it's not your audience right now that you have that's going to be the ones that are going to financially support you. Sometimes it has to be a new person that's coming from the outside, you know what I mean? And so you can't just rely on numbers. Like you have to like really go heavy and try to like find some new folks to come in and join your cause. And so posting content is really really key. Like I posted every single day, and I think what really helped was when one of my videos gained traction on TikTok. I think that's really what set it off. Like people were, it became a movement. Like it literally
Really?
became a movement. Yeah. When I say like the nerds, the black nerds, the comic book nerds, everybody came in swords in hand and just wanted to make this happen. Like I've never seen anything like it. I'm still blown away like to this day. That's why I'm like, I need to make this the best project ever, because the people that really showed up and showed out, like they deserve quality. And so yeah, it became a movement. Influencers of all types, big influencers, small influencers, everybody posted a video,
Really?
if it was like reacting to the trailer or just talking about the Kickstarter itself. Um, what else? Matthew Cherry, retweeted it on Twitter and wished us luck. Um, gosh, there's so many, even like smaller creators. Everybody was talking about it. Everybody had a hand and played a part in why this Kickstarter was such a success. And it was really, when I say a community effort, it was a community effort. Like I could write a thesis. Like I could literally write a thesis on how much everybody came together. Even comic book folks, comic book creators, like actual comic book creators. Like we had, if you're in the comic book world, Tom King, who's working on the Lantern show on HBO now, and also has a hand in like Superman that's coming out. Um, he's been very supportive, like was like retweeting our stuff every day.
Is
Yeah, Scott Snyder, another talented comic book creator, was nice enough to like retweet the Kickstarter. Like people in the community everywhere, the blurs, the nerds, the non-black folks, the black folks who don't know anything about comics but just want to see dope content. Everybody was in
that
it. It
was
was
me. That is
yes.
that's where I fall. Because
Yes.
so I do watch the comic movies,
Mm-hmm.
but I've never really read I think I read one comic book in my life, but
Mm-hmm.
I do like the movies. And so, but I like originality. And I think that's
Yeah.
like really kicked with me. I'm all about original because I think original, yeah, you're gonna have like your core audience because they know like, oh, this is how I'm seen. But you're gonna
Mm-hmm.
get a lot more people that are also like, I would like to see what this world looks like.
Yeah.
For me, I love the humor in it. I love the authenticity in it and the humor and that it felt natural.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's interesting that you got so many people from all over, but it only happened because you kept showing up like
Yeah.
every single day, twice a day. Did you create your content daily, or did you bulk create when you were going through that, what, 29 days?
Oh, so some of it I bulk created, like really quick trends that I saw on TikTok. I was like, okay, I can like change shirts and stuff and make it seem like it's, different days where I'm creating this stuff, but really, really quick trends. But like the ones where I scripted it out, I did that once a day. So like one day I'd wake up, put makeup on, um, get my lighting together, get my office together, and then film that one day, that early afternoon that day. Next day, I'd be like, okay, time for another video. Even though I don't feel like getting my face ready, I know I need to, because God forbid the person that sees this, you know, like if they only see my face, they'll at least know, you know what I mean? And um, so yeah, so it was a daily effort. And then I had some of the cast come over, and they were really cool, even though we all lived like super far from each other. Shanae and Zeno, who played Dominique and Keith in the show, they came in and helped me film some contents, even though they're themselves aren't TikTokers, but they were like, well, we want to see this happen. So we had a whole evening of just like filming content, just back to back.
I love this.
So,
Now, so I do really want to touch on the comic shop. I love the concept. Um, and it's original. And I think like that's the one thing that really drew me to it is it's so original. And I love Black Girl Nerds and I love the community she's built. And
mm,
so I'm like, if she can build her own community for people that, like that, then why can't we have TV shows? One, I know we talked a little bit about it, but why the comic shop in general? Like, why did you, create it in 2021, start creating it in 2021?
Yeah. So for me, I've always been into comics, I've always been, I don't know if you can see my collection, my not even half of my collection is back there.
Really?
And so yeah, yeah, she's back there. There's a whole bookshelf. And even in front of me right now, but I've always been an avid comic fan. I got into comics, when I was in my late teen years, but superheroes in general, I grew up watching Kids WB and Batman the animated
That's a throwback
series.
title.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I credit all of my success to all of my nerdiness to Kids WB because they really put me on game with all these superheroes. And so, I was watching X-Men Evolution. I've always just been that girl who was tuned into the superheroes. But back then, I didn't know that comics were a thing that you could read until like later on in life. And I was like, oh my gosh, comics. Now I'm like super obsessed. Now I know the backstories to these characters that I've been watching as a kid. And like, it's all really cool to me. So I've always just been in that world, really obsessed with that world. And when I was growing up, I also wanted to create. I thought I was going to be a comic book creator. I thought I was going to create like manga. I thought I was going to create like Western comics. Um, and yeah, and this is like a story that I rarely tell people, but I have like tons of, I don't even know if it's here, but I have like tons of like different comics that I would create in school, just
Really?
yeah. And so I thought that that was the route I was going to take. I swore, like, you could not tell me, like, when people ask me, what do you want to do when you grow up? Oh, I'm going to create comics. I'm going to be a comic book creator. And then I'm going to be also a mangaka and create like anime and all that stuff. And
So dope.
life obviously took another turn, but and now I'm in
But you're still
entertainment.
like tapped in though.
Yeah, oh yeah, I'm very Cheyenne the geek, they don't call me that for nothing, you know what I mean? Like, I'm still very, very much tapped into that world. This is my life. And so I don't know, I wanted to write. Originally the comic shop was a romantic comedy short film about a girl named Raven, who was in the corporate world, but she really had a desire to break into the comic industry. And she had to kind of choose between, working the successful corporate job or like chasing her dreams to become like a comic book writer, and disappointing everyone that she knows and loves, and all that stuff. And so
Also,
I kept,
still sounds like a good project.
yeah. I mean, we might bring her back, but like, but that ended up turning into the character Raven ended up turning into Stephanie because I just wasn't sold on that idea. I just wasn't 100% sold. Something was missing. And maybe it's like I'm not really like the best at romance, maybe that was what it was. And so I was like, maybe this needs to be a hard comedy.
Yeah.
And so, anyways, long story short, Raven became Stephanie, the Stephanie that we now know in the comic shop. And she still has the same kind of story, and we can obviously get more into the show later, but the idea of a girl who had this like successful, road ahead and decided that she was gonna deter from it and just follow her dreams, which was opening up a comic book store and becoming a comic book writer. So yeah.
Oh, I like it. And how did you guys all team up?
Yeah, so the director of the proof of concept is Robert Butler III. Great guy. I believe he's from Compton. Great young director, young Black director. I've known him for like years since I moved out here to LA. And I always knew that I wanted to work with him, and I knew that he knew this space very well. And so that's how I linked up with him. And then our DP, Matt Smith, I found him through one of our mutual friends, and he fell in love with the concept. And then Zeno, who plays Keith, I've known him for years, and I remember I hit him up in like 2021 or like 2022, and I was like, "Hey, I got something for you. I know like you do a lot of voice acting, but like we also went to the same acting school, him and I. And so, but I was like, I got something for you. Just wait, just hold on. Like I think every year leading up to that point, I would like send him a DM and be like, hey, I got something. Hold on. I got something for you. I got an idea. Like Shanae Cole, who plays Dominique. I've known her, I've worked with her in the past on like, other projects and stuff. And so I always knew that I wanted to work with her again. And then Grayson Niles, who plays Connor. I found him on a web series called The Party on YouTube. It's like a Dungeons and Dragons web series, and he was so good. I was just like watching it randomly, and I saw him. I was like, "Does this guy live in LA? Because I might have a job for him." Like he was so good that I had to contact him, and so that's kind of how we formed our little Avengers for the comic shop.
Do you think now is a better time to have created it versus in 2023 when you first put out the proof of concept?
I think 2020 would have been a great time. I think
Really?
2020, absolutely. Oh my gosh, that the industry was like, at least even if it was like pretending, you're black. If you're black, you know what 2020 is. And like I always say, I'm like, I wonder if I had this idea in 2020, if it would have been easier to get it out because then everybody acted like they cared about original, diverse stories. And now they don't have to pretend to care about it. And so so yeah, I feel like if there was ever a better time to get my foot in the door, it would have been 2020. But I wanted to be, but I also would want my show to be chosen because people really believe it's a good show, not because they feel like they
Yes.
have to put it on. You know what I mean? So I'm fine with the route that we took.
2020 would have been had you had a better chance going traditional. And
Right, right.
I really have been watching your journey in regards to like just how you really been creating a community around the journey. My opinion, because I don't have the answers. I don't have the answers for like, but I'm just assuming. I'm like, and I take myself as the customer. I'm like, if I have no idea what this project really is about, but I'm invested because I'm just constantly seeing updates, I tend to think it will work in your favor, you
Mm.
know? And so I look at you as like you're doing something, and I don't even know if you are realizing that you're doing something that I just feel like more people should follow. Um,
Oh,
but no, but I do because I think the amount of shows that are just not succeeding and the amount of shows that are not original, because you're doing this whole thing and it's original. And I think that's like the other thing. Like, in my opinion, it's probably way harder. Like, you probably have days where you're like, "Why did I do this?" You know? But I think I think the control and the power and the ability to like directly connect with your consumer base, I think will have a better long run.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I had no question in that, but I truly, I really
I
do.
receive it though. I receive it.
But I do. I think more people should follow it, and I think we're craving originality. Like
Mm,
everybody wants it, but I don't think people are willing to put the money behind it. And
yeah,
what we were able to prove was, I want to create original, and I'm gonna ask y'all, could you put the money behind it? I'm gonna put the work to convince you, and people have put the money behind it. Because what do you like the third most?
yeah. We're the sixth most funded TV series on Kickstarter. So like that's out of every project that has come out for a TV series, which is pretty crazy.
That's what I'm saying. So it's like I watched the proof that in this journey now where you're at and you're creating it and you now see that you do have a community. Are there days where you're like, it's a no for me? Why did I ever do this?
It's a chop. Absolutely, absolutely. There are a lot of days where I just have these mini crash outs, I'm just like, like I'm really doing all this by myself. And like oh my God, there's this scene from Futurama with this robot that I always like post in my close friend stories where she's like talking to Bender, and then all of a sudden like she's like water fuels her or whatever, like her water well runs out and she's like, oh my God, this is the end, I'm not gonna make it. And then she jumps into the water and she's fixed and she's like, anyway, I'm like, this is literally this is literally me every 2 days. Like it's a lot of work. I knew it would be though. I knew it would be though. But it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. Like I said, my office right now, this is full of stuff from Kickstarter, but also people that are like donating just, their products for the show. And I'm thankful. I literally said last year that I wanted my 2025 to consist of just doing the comic shop, and I'm getting my wish, like
Hmm.
but I do have those days, I feel like everybody, even if you're not indie, I feel like everybody has those days where they're just like, dang. Because even today, like I was literally at, the post office trying to get packages and stuff. And then you messaged me and I was like, oh crap, we had a meeting and I'm so sorry. I'm over here like picking up all these packages. But yeah, we have those days. But like I said, I'd rather be doing this than working, at a 9 to 5 cubicle job that I hate. So,
That's real.
I can
Um,
only complain so much.
no, listen. I get it because it all comes with the journey. And I don't like when people are like super optimistic all the time. Like, no, it's all great. Because it's like, I crash out. Like, my brother says, we talk you off the ledge. But he's like,
Mm,
the only people I talk off the ledge are entrepreneurs. And I'm like, yeah, because there's a
mm,
certain level of crazy you got to be where it's like, why am I doing this? But also,
absolutely.
I love that I'm doing this, you know? Flyana, I don't want to mess up their name. I actually never pronounced it out loud, but I love
Mm.
it.
Flying a boss.
Yeah, it's Flyana Boss. How did that happen? Because when I
Yeah.
saw that, I was like, yep, see, this is why I'm tuned in more. Like, I love the updates, but also I love them. And I think teaming up with them and having your show, I just have even a better idea of like the originality in it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Flying a boss. Love them. I've loved them since, they blew up on the scene like 2, 3 years ago. And I've been following their journey since. Bobby and oh my gosh, Bobby and Falion, that's their names. So Flying a Boss, I've just always had them on my radar, and I knew I wanted like a quirky hip hop artist to do, music for our show. And I had like two artists in mind, but then I was like, I really, this is a show about a woman-owned comic book store. And
Yeah.
so I'm like, I would love it if a woman took the lead for like the theme song. You know what I mean? That would be so cool. And so I was like, oh, Flying a Boss. And I started like looking up, producers who like make the same kind of beats, that they make. And but anyways, Flyana Boss had been following me for like a minute, and then Bobby ended up following me, and I just was like, let me just shoot my shot and see if they'd be down to do it. It's an indie project. Our budget is so, but let's see if they're willing to work with us. And the rest is history. Bobby was like, yeah, let me hit up my manager. And she connected me with her team and Atlantic, and um, yeah, yeah, that's how we got it. Kiera Please, which is a great creator, um, amazingly talented. She's also playing a role on the show. I don't know if that's known yet, but Kiera Please, I hit her up because I know,
Exclusive.
yeah, exclusive. Yeah, she's also a rapper. She does like music and stuff here and there. And I was like, hey, I really want this to be like really femme forward. Would you be down to like write lyrics for the theme song so we can send it their way and see if they'll be down to like record it? And she was like, absolutely. And so she literally wasted no time. Like, I was expecting us to have to go through like several different drafts, because in my mind as
Yeah.
a writer, I'm just like, well, obviously that's how it's gonna go. She wrote some fire lyrics, that are like nerdy but also like just like catchy. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute, I was not expecting all this. This is fire. Like, this is amazing. She did her thing. I had to give her tens always. um but yeah, so Kiera Please, and Tofu Jack as well, he helped write and write the lyrics, and we all just came together and made like really quirky, fun, nerdy, catchy theme song. And that's really what I wanted. Catchy.
Yeah.
We're only allowed, obviously we're not allowed to put this on streaming. I get it. But but when we do put it on social media, I would love for the song to like take a life of its own.
Yeah.
And I know Flyana Boss is amazing at having stuff like that happen. And so it just made sense. It just made sense.
First off, this is I would love to see, and I want to ask you, but I have this vision of like how big this show can be and
Mm.
without, the traditional route, but what's your vision?
I always say I want to go. I feel like I owe it to everybody who's supported thus far to try to go as far with it as I can, as possible. And so my top vision, obviously, I have like a vision board like above me that I always look at, is to be able to take this to a network or a streaming service and have it on there, um, and have it become a big sensation. Um, that's my biggest vision for it. But again, we can't always get what we want. And if I had to, take a step back and just be like, okay, what do I really want? What I really want is for folks to see this show that we work so hard on, by any means necessary. So if I had to put it on a YouTube or Vimeo or something, I'm not too proud to do that. Like, I want folks to see it. I feel like I always say like, maybe I have to look at it like, this is my awkward Black girl leading to my insecure. You know what I mean? Um,
That's
and
that's
so,
That's a good journey. Listen.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Like at least this is the proof that stuff that I know what I'm freaking doing. And that I can write and like we have an audience and like I know what I'm doing. I need somebody up there to believe in what the Cheyenne brain can do, I guess. I don't know. But yeah.
What's your, since you said this is 2025 is your year of delusion, what's your delusional list? Whoever you want to star on the show, whoever you would love to have a meeting with to pitch about the show, like
Oh
give.
my gosh, delusional list. Jim Rash from Community. He played the dean on Community. I think he's so funny, and I have characters in mind for him. We just don't have the budget, but like, um, Donald Glover to have a cameo, but to also like executive produce in some capacity. The biggest dream is to work with Donald Glover. I have always looked up to him. Um, hey, as far as like streaming services, I'll sit down with anybody. Netflix, Hulu, Roku, Tubi, call me up. Call me up. You know what I mean? Like I'm not too proud to work with anybody. Like anybody who sees the vision. I just want whoever I'm working with to see the vision and trust my creative process and creative mind and know that if you're betting on me, that it's a good thing. You're gonna get good things. I feel like I'm proving that. So I just need somebody to see that and believe it. So yeah.
No, I definitely think I think you're proving it. Just by everything I've been seeing, but also by everything that you're talking about now. It's like
Mm.
you're not afraid to do the work and you're not afraid to like be the only one doing the work and you're not afraid to sacrifice and know that like I don't want to do this, but I have to because like you said something earlier about seeing the amount of people in your community just show up for you, the amount of people in the industry, the amount of just people showing up and how you were like, I have to go harder. Like I have to make sure this is good. So it puts you in a space where it's like, this is bigger than me. It's not even about me anymore. It's about the people that are like, I believe in you and just, a like, a click, a share, a follow, a donation, any advice that you would give to somebody that was feeling like you were when you created this and you just kept hearing people sort of try to revamp it in a way that just did not work with your vision?
Lock in. Lock in to who you are, lock into your community, um, and show up. Just like find ways to show up and to show that betting on you would be the smartest thing somebody with money could do, Um, and don't give up, don't give up. Don't give up, even if you have to fund it yourself. It's a lot of hard work, but it's hard work that will lead to promising things. And so yeah, I think that's what I would say. Don't give up, lock the fuck in. I don't know if I can curse on here. I'm so sorry.
Girl, I curse all the time. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, great. Okay, yeah, yeah. Lock the fuck in, please. Like, you know, we need your story. Everybody has a unique story to tell, and yours just might be the next thing that blows up. But you'll never know if you quit because of a couple of no's. You know what I mean?
Community grown since.
It has. Especially on Threads. That's like a place that I never thought I'd be frequenting, but the girls are on Threads. Um, in terms of like following and stuff, if you mean like following numbers, like
No, no,
sure.
no, just your personal community. Have people like reached out like, hey, how can I,
Oh,
help you?
absolutely. Oh my gosh, absolutely. People are coming out the woodwork like, hey girl, we see what you're doing. We believe in this. How can we help? And it's been so amazing. Like, um, I'm working with friends. A lot of my friends um, are directing this. Joshua Kissy, who he's a great director. I remember he reached out and was just like, "Girl, I want to direct this. Like, what do I got to do?" And I was like, "Oh snap, you're watching me, like you." Absolutely. So like now he's directing an episode. Like there has been so many people who have just reached out and been like, even if I'm playing like a small role, an extra, how can I be involved? And it's all stuff that's helped move the production forward. And I'm very grateful. Um, and I love working with friends. I feel like if you're able to like bring friends on a journey with you, you should absolutely fucking do that. And so just being able to work with my friends, for a few weeks for production is I couldn't ask for anything cooler. So yeah, community definitely has grown for sure.
'Cause I know you said when I had asked to speak with you, like you don't really talk on camera. Like I see your photos, I see you, doing the videos and stuff. Do you feel like you've grown having to step out of all the comfort zones it seems that you might have had?
Absolutely. I first of all, I'm a Virgo, hardcore to the bone, apparently, I've been told. And I'm also Nigerian, so and we're very prideful people. We don't ask for handouts. We don't ask for help. I'm very much the type of person who I always say this, like if I could clone myself 30 times and just have myself do things by myself, I would. And so I'm like very bad at asking for help. It makes me nervous, but I've had to learn to be very vulnerable when doing my Kickstarter. That's one thing. Like making all those videos was not easy mentally, because I'm just not that type of person who seeks out help from other people. I often try to do things on my own. And not to say it's because people don't offer help. It's just because in my mind, I've just always had to do things, you know, by myself. And so just asking people, like putting my hand down and asking people for help, that was a level of vulnerability that I did not know I had. um, and even when I look back at the videos, I get PTSD a little bit sometimes because I'm just like, dang, we were so close to not reaching our goal. Had I not really locked in and like, decided to like let my walls down and just ask for help, I
Mm.
don't know where this project would be. And so, um, but yeah, I'm also like very shy. I don't really like, even though it's crazy, my career since moving to LA has always been on camera, has always been very front facing. But I'm very I don't do this very often, like these intimate talks. And so I have a script in front of me and I just say what I can to the camera and then I clock out. But I don't know. I'm learning like this is a cool conversation. Like I'm learning to do more of this, especially as more people reach out for interviews. This is like the first interview that I'm doing for pre-production, and I don't really plan on doing more until after production. But like,
I
but
appreciate
you've been
it.
no, but you've been so like great, like and supportive and stuff. And so I was like, oh, I definitely want to be able to, sit down and talk and do this for you guys. Cause yeah, you were like one of the bigger platforms that really helped support the Kickstarter and get the word out there. And so I appreciate it. Um, but yeah. But I think I've always been I guess a go-getter is what I'm always called. Like I've always kind of been that person. I have this weird thing where I don't see failure. Like everything has to, and that could be dangerous in some ways, like, but in my mind, there's only success at the end of the tunnel. And so I don't often have plan Bs, or like if I do have a plan B, it's still like a form of achieving something or like success. And
Yeah.
so I don't know, even with the comic shop, I'm like I just don't see, even like when we were like at like a low point in the Kickstarter campaign, I still only saw it it us hitting our goal. Like I still, even though I was like worried, I was like, well, it's gonna happen. I just need to get to that point where it happens. You know what I mean? And I got a friend of mine, one thing I always quote, a friend of mine told me that you only have to worry about your effort, not the outcome. Like you only have your effort to worry about, not the outcome. So I was like, damn, if I don't put in the effort, that's the only thing I can control is the effort. I can't control the outcome. So if I don't
Hmm.
at least try, and get the word out, at least if things don't go the way I want, at least I can say I tried. I did
Yeah.
my best and I know I did my best. And so I've just always been that kind of person.
As much as I love dreamers, I think too many of us only talk about the struggle when we've made it out and
Mm,
talks about it during the process. Or a lot of people don't get ugly with it. And I think if more people talked about like, no, I almost quit or I was this or I was that, I think more people would be on the journey and hear that and be like, okay, I can keep going. I can lock more in. And
mm,
I think a lot of things that you did behind the scenes is why you're even here today with the comic shop because you found the moments where you locked in and the effort you gave and you couldn't control the outcome, but the outcome showed you that like one, your friend's quote, is something to live by, but like
yeah.
like for real, like it's all about the controllables. If you keep only control the controllables, right? And I just want original. That's like with me, when I see things, I want quality original. And that was something that I saw with your project. But then also I love marketing, and I think a lot of our projects would go further if we double down, and like if you put something out, I'm gonna make sure you see it, right? I'm gonna throw it in your face. And so I think what you're doing is very, very different. And that's why I'm also like rooting in your success, because I need proof of concept. I need for people to look back, and it's already proven, right? That your
Mhm.
Kickstarter was already, when I saw that number 6, I was like, wow. Like ever? I know about Kickstarter, but I didn't pay attention to that, especially when it's happening in 2025. Like that is a big feat. And I think stories like these should be told because we are entering a new landscape in TV and film, and you're touching on a topic of that there's so many people in the landscape that are Black and brown that do not see themselves. I was looking at and not to get too political, because I do love Marvel, but I was looking at the new Doomsday,
Mhm.
like we're back to not being seen, and so I'm hoping with the comic shop there's going to be, I'm pretty sure, more features on Black-owned comics, and just telling the story of Black and brown in that space. Now, I'm not
Mhm.
exactly sure how, like, if you want to talk on that or you don't, because I know haven't gotten started, and I don't want you to give any trade secrets away, but like, um,
Treats.
I'm interested in the visibility that will happen when you have a show like this, and then the type of shows that it could usher in.
I will say it's definitely viewing comics through a black lens, which is great. When I started writing, the characters Stephanie, Dominique, and Keith, and now Connor, I wanted to write about a friend group that I'm familiar with, right? I don't think I've ever watched a show that catered to nerds where I could relate to it. And that to me was a problem. Just like a lot of times when people write nerds, they write nerds who are ashamed of being nerds, or like they're this like stereotypical, you know, weird, like, I mean, yeah, weird, whatever, but like they're like the stereotypical, something that just doesn't ring true to the nerds that I know and hang out with on a daily basis. And so I just really wanted to see like what it would be like if I just, wrote a story about a black owned comic book store, and with people, the friends surrounding that and the world surrounding that. And because that's what I know, I know nerds, I know black nerds, I know, all types of nerds. And so I was like, I feel like I can write a good story like this. And so it definitely shows a lot of things through a black lens, but it's also like not to not it's also something that like everybody can get on, you know what I mean? And that's what I love. I feel like, you know it's just like it's a show that everybody can relate to in some shape or form. And I think people see that, even with the proof of concept the trailer that we posted, there were like I said, all types of nerds were posting about the show and being excited about the show. And it just, I mean, there was this one guy who was in cosplay about like this hero that he made up, and he was like announcing like, oh my God, the comic shop is a show about a workplace comedy about a comic book store. We need the show. And it was like this cool, quirky white dude. And I was like, oh my God, this is what I love. Like everybody can get in on this, on the comic shop. Everybody can fall in love with the show. But it definitely is through a black lens for sure. But like, and some things are different from like how we see stuff, but like I feel like people will also see like, damn, maybe we're all not so different. Maybe we all see things kind of, similarly, and we just didn't know because we've just never been tapped into the other side. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
yeah, and so I don't know. I want everybody to be able to, even people who don't love comics, you're gonna fucking love this show because there's something for everybody. In the same way, like I'm not a teacher, I don't ever plan on being a teacher, but I love Abbott Elementary down.
Yeah.
Um, and so and so I'm hoping it will be the same. I know it will be the same for this show because I mean everything. I just laugh so freaking much every time I read the scripts, and I should know I wrote majority of them. So and I don't know. I feel like there's something for everybody and everybody will enjoy it. And but it is definitely a love letter to Black nerds, the community that I have always been in and has always like supported me and through my different creator phases. And if there's a community that I know well, it's the Black nerd community. And I definitely think it's about time that we're shown, and given proper representation. Anyway, I think that I think that the popularity that the comic shop has gained has definitely inspired a lot of people in the industry to, like, push our stories out there more, and it's great. It's like it's just a movement. But yeah, I feel like everybody it will fall in love with the show. I don't know. And if you don't, I watch it again because I don't know.
I love the fact that you're like, there's no failure. Just keep watching until you fall in love.
Yeah.
Okay, so if anybody was interested in working with you in some capacity, whether it's product placement, more money, meetings, what are some things that you're looking for, if there's anything you're looking for, and then how would they be able to get in contact with you?
Yeah, I mean, we are always open to more donations. It is hard out here in LA. They're raising, even for independent projects, it's hella expensive. Um, but you can always reach out to either Cheyenne Ewulu at gmail.com. So that's CHEYENNEEWULU at gmail.com, or the comic shop series at gmail.com. And that's how you can get in touch with me about the show. And yeah, and you can follow us on at the comic shop series on all platform, on TikTok, TikTok, Instagram, and I guess Facebook.
Thank you so much. I really am rooting for you guys.